Hello friends, hope you guys are doing well. Generally on our podcast, we speak to entrepreneurs, venture capitals. We talk about the startup world. This is the first of its kind for us. Today, we have His Excellency Mr. Sandeep Chakravorty, who's India's ambassador to Indonesia and Timor-Leste. We're going to discuss with him a wide variety of topics, not only about who's a diplomat and what he does, but also the worldview and how it is changing and in which direction it is going. Welcome to Startup Simplified, Chief. How are you doing?
I'm good. Happy to be on your show.
Thank you so much for making time. It's been a burning question for me and for quite a few friends of mine. What's really a role of an ambassador? Our understanding, or my understanding, is that an ambassador represents the country in a foreign land. But what else? I mean, if you could just break it down for us, right? In whichever format you would want to, it'll be of great help.
Good. So it's a not an easy question to answer.
Sure.
And many people have asked me, and depending on the person, you get the answer.
Okay.
But I have applied my mind to this. Not only what is an ambassador, but what does a diplomat do?
Sure.
And the role of diplomacy. So to be very formal, I would say that the ambassador is the representative of a head of state to another head of state. This has been the tradition. So you see, there is a document known as the credentials, which are signed was signed in my case by Rashtrapati ji.
Okay.
And then there is a very formal occasion called the credential ceremony, where the ambassador presents those credentials to the head of state here. So I presented credentials to President Jokowi a couple of months back.
Okay.
So till the time the credentials ceremony is done, that I don't hand over the letter signed by my president to the president of the host country, an ambassador remains an ambassador designate. So historically, it had been sovereigns who send ambassador to the court of the sovereign. So that has continued.
Yeah.
In modern times, things have expanded and changed. So the ambassador of India to Indonesia would represent, in many sense, the government of India in Indonesia, the whole of government.
Okay.
Although I belong to the Ministry of External Affairs, or what is known as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I am not only a representative of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I am the representative of the entire government of India, as embodied in the personality of the President of India. So I then, anything my government has to do or deal with the government of Indonesia, and vice versa, may go through me, or I may be the interlocutor or the negotiator or the face of my country to Indonesia. So that is a very strict definition.
Yeah.
But as in modern times everything gets expanded and changed, I also represent the people of India in some sense. I represent India as a country. I represent Indian culture. I also further the interests of Indian corporates, Indian businesses. I would also promote people-to-people ties. So I basically, I would say my job here is to push the relationship between India and Indonesia forward. Sometimes I am batting for Indonesia. I would want Indonesia to have a greater role in India, a greater presence in India. And most of the times I'm batting for India in the sense that I want India to be more present here, Indian interests to be protected. So sometimes I also wonder whether I am India's ambassador to Indonesia or Indonesian ambassador to India, because I believe that both ways, if India becomes more present or engaged with Indonesia, our peoples will gain. And similarly, if Indonesia is more present in India, our peoples will gain. So now it's quite an expanded portfolio. Sometimes I'm doing business, sometimes I'm doing think tanks, sometimes I'm promoting culture, sometimes connectivity. But it's very difficult to define it and put it into a straitjacket. It's not the...
Has the role evolved over let's say last 10 years, 15 years?
Yes, certainly.
It has evolved.
Certainly it has evolved. In my career, in my lifetime, I've seen it evolve. As India has risen in the world, as other countries have risen, some have declined, our role has changed. We also, another role which we perform a lot is to take care of Indians in our countries. If Indians are in trouble, in distress, or routine services,
Sure.
consular services, passports and visas and otherwise, we are the first call for any Indian who is abroad and needs any help. So
Sure.
that I think has come into sharp focus now as the Indian diaspora has grown world over.
Sure.
So our embassies are now dealing much more with diaspora issues than before. And similarly, the diaspora has been of great use to our embassies and ambassadors, because we then connect in a very different way through our diaspora to our host governments and people.
Sure.
So it is certainly now we do more of economic diplomacy. As Prime Minister said, we need to put the 3 T's, which is trade, tourism, and technology. So that is the mandate that we have from our
Can you
Prime
expand
Minister.
a bit more on this policy change or this whole economic expansion, which even you are leading? Can you just expand a bit more so that we get an idea? Like, for example, from what our understanding is, like the likes of UPI moving out or going live yesterday in France, right? So if you could just give us a bit more expansion of what's more to come or what's in pipeline.
So I will give you a general context first, which is,
Sure.
you see, India is transforming.
Yeah.
India is transforming in a rapid pace. So so the transformation of India will not necessarily take place only by Indians who live in India.
True.
There's a role for everybody.
True.
There's a role for Indians who live outside India.
Sure.
There is a role for foreigners who are invested and interested in India. When we talk of the 3 T's, technology, most of the technologies or large part of the technology comes from abroad.
Sure.
Raw materials, tourism, if you're wanting to, tourists need, where will tourists come from? They'll come from abroad, or Indian tourists will go abroad.
Yeah.
So I think India is a very globalized country, and in that globalized role, diplomats and ambassadors have a huge role of being facilitators. Sometimes our role is not very evident. Our role is not very, you cannot clearly define that role, or maybe you cannot trace it directly.
Sure.
But in every deal or every exchange that takes place, somewhere or the other, an Indian diplomat or on the basis of the relationship, things get done.
Sure.
And UPI, you gave an example. So you see, I was in charge of West Europe division of our ministry till July before I came here. Yeah. And at that time we had worked on this UPI thing. So it took a few months. And it got done during. So at Bastille Day it was more or less put into the works, and by Republic Day it got done. So I was so happy to read about it. Sure. And we are now working with Indonesia. One thing which I don't know if you had attended, we had a seminar recently where we are already talking with Indonesia on local currency settlement systems.
Yes.
So the idea is that if we can do our deals in rupiah and rupees, then the transaction costs come down drastically. 3 or 4% decline in transaction costs, which can be basically the difference between a profit and loss.
Oh, absolutely. Looking at the volumes, yes.
Looking at the volumes. Then you see there are other ties which we promote. For instance, I have been, since I was asked to come to Indonesia, in the back of my mind, this question of connectivity has been working. And we are pushing the connectivity, the air connectivity between Indonesia and India. And I'm so happy that at least now we have 2 direct flights between India and Indonesia, and now I'm pushing for more flights. We may have 1 more flight next month.
Sure.
Connecting India and Indonesia. And my goal in a way is to see that our capitals are connected.
Sure.
It is very, very distressing for me personally and for many people that the 2 largest countries in the world, India, Indonesia, largest
Population-wise,
population-wise, democracy-wise, economy, our capitals are not connected. It pains me a lot.
Yes.
So I hope before I leave this place and my tenure is completed, we could have restored the flights that used to connect Jakarta with Delhi.
This is a good example which you've given, and I would like to expand slightly on this one, right? For example, you talk about connectivity, you talk about the new flights coming in. Very briefly, what role does the embassy and you and the other folks play in getting this done? Isn't it driven majorly by airline economics, or what kind of work happens in the background? The reason I'm asking this is, I want the audience to understand what role really the embassy and the ambassador and the other folks play, because half of them have the understanding that, hey, listen, it seems like an attractive route for the airlines, hence they have come in, right?
So you see, you're right. If something is not commercially viable, it won't happen. But does it mean all commercially viable routes are operating?
No.
Okay.
True.
Does it also mean that commercially non-viable routes are not operating?
Absolutely.
Doesn't mean so.
Yes.
There is the answer to the question.
Correct.
In the case of Indonesia, you see, Indians are now the second largest tourists in Indonesia. This is a huge factor. It's a transformative factor.
Yes.
Balinese economy has benefited a lot from Indian tourists. Balinese people like Indian tourists because they are very respectful of the culture, they understand, and they spend a lot.
Yes.
Unlike other tourists from other countries who spend most of the time in the hotels and lying by the poolside or the beach. Our people go out.
Yeah.
They visit the temple, they do shopping,
True.
and they spend time outside the hotel, which is good for the economy. But the role a diplomat or an embassy would play in this case would be to push airlines. I have been in constant touch with some of our airlines, pushing them, meeting them. And then there are regulatory approvals.
Yes.
So we push our Ministry of Civil Aviation and the Indonesian Ministry of Civil Aviation. The conversation should go on. We also, sometimes help in the discussions. I distinctly remember that I was approached by one airline saying that Indonesian side was giving them a time slot which was not suitable for them because they wanted the flight from here to India reach at a time when flights from that destination were going to Middle East and Europe. The slot they were getting, the flight would reach much later. So then, we kicked in, we met the Indonesian side, which was very cooperative, and they understood the reasoning, and that, they had to be given the slot they were asking, and they gave, and that flight is now running smoothly between Jakarta and Mumbai. So
I'm taking one next week.
Okay. So the embassies, both the Indian embassy here and the Indonesian embassy, played a role in the resumption of the direct air connectivity, and I think we are, or why I think we are still playing that role.
Sure.
And I'm in constant touch with our airlines, and my hope is that we have more connectivity between India and Indonesia.
No, excellent. I mean, this really clears a lot. I had a bit of an idea, but now it really helps out, right? I mean, from an outsider's perspective, it looks like, okay, hey, listen, the route has just become very, very favorable, hence the airlines are coming in. But we don't really know what goes behind the closed doors, right? Regulatory approvals, convincing both these sides on the viability of things and more. This was helpful. Before we move on to the next question, just describe a day in your life, a working day. Pick up a random day.
Well, you see, one point which I would like to make is that for us, there is not much, there is no break over weekends. So the weekends are not.
We are doing this.
We are doing this. And this morning I had a VC. I just came out of a VC with a professor from Bangalore, who was speaking on non-market. So I was coordinating a talk with some people. And in the evening, I will be attending there is a musical show in town.
Yes.
Some artists have come from
Yes.
Bombay, so I will have to attend that. And tomorrow, I have a lunch invitation to meet with some people. And evening, I am traveling to a mine in Kalimantan, where one of our companies, Tata, has invested. So they've been asking me to visit their mine. So I also need to understand, because coal is a major product that is traded with India. So I need to understand how those things happen. So tomorrow I will be gone for that. Usual day would mean first in the morning starting with connecting back to India to see what's happening, what are the priorities. Then meeting with my team. It need not be in-person meetings. Most of it happen in groups, as you know. Most of those takes place in groups or on WhatsApp. Getting to know what's happening in Indonesia is important for me. And when I reach office, I try to meet people. I meet members of our community. I've been meeting a lot of people. I jokingly say that I'm speed dating because I've been here 6 months.
You have been. I mean, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you over here, but I have to say this. The amount of enthusiasm and presence which you bring on to each of these events, be it a ceremony in a temple, or be it a music show, or be it a business event, it is amazing. I mean, the sheer volume of events which you're attending. I was telling my wife Sonia as well that the amount of energy which is required to do this, even though you might be an extrovert, I don't know, but just in case, even if you might be an extrovert, it still drains. It's still a very draining process.
So you see, diplomats are supposed to have two characteristics. Otherwise, you should not be a diplomat. That's my understanding. You have to be an eternal optimist.
Eternal optimist.
Because if you are a pessimist and you are depressed, then this is not your business. Because you need to motivate others. You need to instill hope all the time. Even in a very serious situation, even if there is war, you have to talk of peace. Okay.
Yes.
And so a diplomat is an eternal optimist. And secondly, he should be extrovert. He should have the skill and the ability to meet with people. If somebody doesn't like meeting people, doesn't like conversations, doesn't want to understand the culture of the other person, where is he coming from, what are the foods they eat. Like people ask me, which is your favorite Indian restaurant in Jakarta? I find it difficult to answer because I normally don't go and eat in Indian restaurant because I eat Indian food at home. When I go out, I like to eat Indonesian food. So I can tell you my favorite Indonesian restaurant, but I find it difficult to comment on an Indian restaurant. Having said that,
he's waiting for your favorite Indonesian restaurant.
So it's called my favorite Indonesian restaurant so far, and I don't want to patronize any company or a restaurant. Is this place called Talaga Sampuran?
Okay.
It is in Menteng. It is a lovely place where they serve very traditional Indonesian food, and it's they have these small rooms located on a lake. There's a lake kind of a thing, and with fishes all around, and you sit on there's no table. You put your feet under that. And you sit in a traditional way, and I quite liked it. In fact, I went there twice, but there are many others. And people have been telling me everywhere that you must eat Padang food. And so I am now, my next adventure would be to go and find a nice Padang restaurant.
We have some recommendations off camera.
And one of your country cousins, Tiku Menon, was telling me that Padang food is very similar to Kerala food. In fact, it seems in the past people from Kerala came there.
There has been an exchange.
There
has been an exchange.
And there's a book by a Scottish person who talks about these linkages and use of coconut and coconut oil.
Yes.
So my next culinary adventure will be Padang food. And after that, I'm planning to try street food, which I have not tried so far. So I'm actually on a culinary discovery of Indonesia. So all these, so to be able to talk or make conversation, you should know the country. So I've been traveling quite a bit. I am getting to know Indonesia, and I've traveled to Kalimantan. I've been to Aceh. I was last week in Batam. Of course, Bali one has traveled to, but there are many fascinating places in Indonesia which I need to know. So I am in a hurry, in a way, trying to know the country and also trying to find out where does India and Indonesia connect. We connected over hundreds of years, that's true. But my job is to use that connection to make new connections.
Sure.
If we can't rest on our laurels saying that, our ancestors were very close to each other, but today I have nothing to show on my balance sheet. So that won't work.
True.
New things, new initiatives, you belong to the startup world, connecting our startups, payment systems. I'm trying to explore if we can, do a UPI link up, health sector, connectivity I mentioned, then, Indonesian tourists into India.
Sure.
I was looking at investments into India over the last 23 years. So Indonesia was, I think, 34th ranked. Okay. But some of those countries who are on top are actually small countries through which investments are routed, like Mauritius or even Singapore. Some of the Singapore investment could be actually
Indonesian ones, yeah.
But Indonesia was 34th in the rank, but the amount was not insubstantial. It was about $650 million US. So which shows that the
appetite is there.
Appetite is there, and my job would be also to see if we could push in Indonesian investments into India. And of course, Indian investments into Indonesia. My message has, or maybe we will come to that later. Yeah.
Okay. I just got lost in my thoughts. Just moving from your thoughts. But yeah, let's talk about how does one become a diplomat from your journey, right? So we'll cover both the aspects. Let's talk about your journey. In that process, we'll also understand how does one in India becomes a diplomat, right? And we do at the end, to the end, to who you are today, right? You can run through the initial bits. Up to you. I'll leave that to you. How you want to do it?
So you see, in India, you become a diplomat only by clearing the civil service examination. Which, as you know, is a difficult examination.
One of the toughest ones.
And I believe it has become even more tougher. It wasn't so tough when we were writing it, but otherwise I would not have cleared it. But so in India, it is a different kind of a system. But other countries have different systems. Most countries have an examination. I think most countries do have professional diplomats, and they have an examination only for diplomats, to recruit diplomats, not like in India where it is a civil service examination.
Which is a very British model, right? The civil services.
Yeah, I think so, and also that in our examination, whether you want to be a policeman or a customs officer or a administrative officer, you write the same exam.
Yeah.
In other countries, the examination is more specialized. Yeah. You should have had international relations background, or you should know a foreign language. In our case, it comes later. Yeah. So when in our training we learn a foreign language and we get training in international relations and diplomacy.
How's your journey? You've cleared.
Yeah, so I am getting into that. Mine is a kind of a 12th fail kind of a story, which I'm
going to put the link to that movie in the description. If you haven't watched it, please do.
So mine is a kind of a 12th fail kind of a story, but not exactly that way. In fact, I have written my story. I want to publish it maybe in a year or two when I am able to.
It's your memoir.
Not my story. It's not my memoir. Okay. It's nothing to do with my diplomatic experiences, diplomatic journey, but experiences of life, including being a diplomat. Sure. So how I got into was very accidental. So it's not a model for others. I got in because of a friend. His dad used to believe, or still believes, that he was destined to be a civil servant. Okay. And he would fill the form every year and never write the exam or prepare for it. And his father would get furious at him. Then once he told me that, why don't I fill your form also? And we were very close. We used to.
How old were you at that time?
I was 26 or 27, actually late. Normally people join at the age of 23 or 24. And so to please him and him being a close friend, I said, okay, let me see this also. And to my horror and surprise and shock, I cleared the exam. the preliminary exam.
How long did you prep for it?
I didn't prepare much for it, for a month or so. Yeah, so
that's it.
Yeah, that's it. So people may think I'm lying, but that's true. You can ask my friends and my family.
There's no reason for you to lie.
Yeah. So I tell people, don't follow my example.
In a month.
Yeah. And then when I cleared the prelims, I was absolutely blown over because I didn't know what to do. I didn't have any preparation for subjects, for the mains and all. And I basically went to a bookseller and asked him, the guy who sells books for civil service, to tell me what to study. And he said, what did you study in college? I said, I studied physics, but I don't know anything of physics. So he says, you try geography. So he gave me a set of books on geography. And I started reading, graduate level geography books. And I didn't understand anything, physical geography. So after a week, I went back to him and he said, yeah, तो मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. So he said, sir, आपका कुछ नहीं हो सकता. मैंने कहा, क्या यार, exam clear किया. Then he told me, आप ऐसा कीजिए, Rao Study Circle जाइए. That used to be a coaching center in Delhi. That time it used to be very prominent. So I went to Rao Study Circle.
She cleared prelims without any coaching center?
I didn't do any coaching, nothing. Then they said, they looked at me and asked me some question. They said, you have to be here the whole day. You have to coach yourself in general studies. And then I chose anthropology because I didn't understand any geography. And I had taken public administration because I had gone to business school. So I knew management.
Okay.
And public administration had half a part of management. So, I cleared the civil service examination in the first attempt, but I got a postal service. My rank was 200 something. And but I had a job. In fact, I was working when I was writing the exam.
What were you doing?
I was in the development sector. I used to work at that time with the Swedish International Agency.
Okay.
So I had a good salary and I was very happy in doing what I got into it because of my friend. But then what happened, my friends and my family were very excited that, people prepare for ages and, they do a lot of...
this guy studies for 30 days and gets in.
Yeah, and you've got in, so you should try again. But I didn't belong to a very well-to-do family, so I couldn't leave my job. And so I went back to job, and next exam I wrote while working.
Okay.
Yeah, while working, I just took leave during the time of the examination. And again...
That would be the mains?
The mains, yeah.
Okay.
Prelims and all, I cleared the prelims.
So now the next one's mains?
Then I got foreign service. So then then there was some euphoria.
You cleared mains while working full time?
Yeah, I cleared. So so I'm saying mine is a kind of a 12th fail story, but in a very different way. Very different way, because I was not into civil service. Not because I thought it's not for me.
Why do you think you were able to do this? In hindsight, why do you think that? I mean, you. I'm sure you are aware. You must have seen even at that time, people prepare for like a year.
Yeah.
What do you think was within you in terms of a quality, or I don't know, any hindsight? Because this is very rare.
Yeah, it is rare. I agree with you. You see, one thing which helped me a lot was reading the newspaper. So in my house, we all read the newspaper.
So you've always been an avid newspaper reader?
Always.
Okay.
Always an avid newspaper reader. Always listening to shortwave radio, Voice of America, BBC, Australia, Radio Australia. I used to, I had a shortwave radio. So I was very curious about the world. But I had never traveled abroad and all that. So but in my family, I remember the newspaper would be almost... violated. Everyone would take away. Once the paper came to the house, somebody would take the main paper, somebody would take the sports paper, and end of the day, the paper would be in shambles. But all of us read news. So we had, in my family, we were very well aware of what was happening in the world. So I think that worked in my DNA. And secondly, the business school I went was in a forest management school in Bhopal. There again, I thought it changed my view of the world, understanding things in a different way. And then the job I did where I worked in an NGO, again I worked with tribals and poor people all over India. I think that also impacted my worldview.
Sure.
And I think all those things helped me in writing the exam. And the way I communicated.
Exams didn't used to be very maths heavy back then?
No. In that case, I would not. I am not. I understand maths, but I can't write maths. I am very bad in maths.
Today, there are people who've like cleared JEE, engineering, IIT, and they are saying that this year's maths was insane.
Yeah. No, so I am not a mathematically oriented person. So I would not have cleared now. But in those days, it was not. And I took sociology, sociological papers like public ad and anthropology. So I was able to do it. Okay. So my story is not the real kind of a civil service story. So, and then when I got foreign service, then people said, I didn't have time to think. I thought there was some euphoria and it was a big pay loss for me.
This was one in 27. You were 27 years old, right? When you got
I wrote to 20. I was 28 when I joined. Yeah,
28.
Yeah.
Talk about the pay cut.
Yeah, so I was, as I said, I used to work for the Swedish development agency, and I used to get quite a hefty amount of money, very handsome in those days. This is mid 90s when even in private sector the
market had just opened up. India had just opened up.
And hardly anybody in my peer group or even in the corporate sector, even people from IIM and all would not get that much money. So my pay became 1/4 of that. Yeah, really 1/4. I still remember I used to get about 25,000 rupees when I was in SIDA in 1995-96. And when I joined the civil service, I got 6,000 rupees.
Ooh.
So it was 1/4. But there was something about the service that you never looked at the pay. The prestige and the there was some awe factor with it. And I think good for India that it still remains.
It remains very heavily.
It remains.
And thankfully to these movies and there are some very beautiful series as well. It seems like that awe has multiplied. It was always there, but it was there in a certain part of the country. But now it seems like there are people from the cities. I have friends, cousins in Mumbai who are like getting this aspirational about appearing or trying for the exams, and I was like, okay, this is good. This is really good. Okay, so
but I think it worked out well for me.
I'm sure.
And I have not. I have really enjoyed myself. And
what was your first posting?
So I went to Spain. I went to Spain.
Straight from Delhi to Spain.
And I chose Spanish as my language. Again, as I said, I was never a very good student in terms of performance. I may have been a good student in terms of behaving in the class or being respectful to the teachers and doing my work and understanding what is being taught. But if you ask me, did you score well in exam? I couldn't. There was yesterday I met somebody in Indonesia. He said that he runs something called as democratic school. Okay. So he said, I said, what is democratic? He said, in democratic school, students decide the curriculum, and they decide what they want to learn and what they want to teach, what they want to be taught. So this guy in this democratic school here in Indonesia, Irudio it's called, it's on the way to Bogor. He decided that his project this year would be a Wayang Ramayana show. Nice. So the school invited me. Last night I was watching Ramayana. Nice. Last night I was watching a 2-hour show of Ramayana in Javanese and Bhasa. So my friends, I had invited some people. They were not understanding what was being spoken in Javanese.
Sure.
And I was able to understand a lot of it because I know the Ramayana story.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
But there is Indonesia is so rich in culture. There's so many languages.
Absolutely.
So for 2 hours I was coming back to your old question. What do you do? So I sat through a Ramayana recital. Then I had taken some friends, and then I said, I want to know what young people do in the night here. Okay. So I went to a pub actually, and I was quite amazed that pub was full of people.
This was last night. Friday night, Jakarta was insane.
And the music was so nice. It was 80s, 90s song, and people, audience were getting up and singing ABBA and Boney M and all that, and I felt so good. I felt so much connected, and it was lovely. And I came quite late in the night home. So again, you may say, what does a diplomat ambassador? He needs to know what is happening, and
but you are inertly curious.
Yeah.
You've always been like this.
Yeah.
You've always been curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as I said, I was not good in exams. So I thought, let me take the easiest language. So Spanish is an easy language to pick up.
I've heard so. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I was happy I chose Spanish because I speak Spanish quite fluently, and I picked it up easily. And then I was lucky as a diplomat in the Indian Foreign Service that my government sent me thrice to Spanish-speaking countries. So from Spain I went to Colombia,
Nice.
and then I was ambassador to Peru and Bolivia. So my language skills were very handy, and then I came back to Delhi for several years. I then went to Bangladesh, went to Peru, I went to New York, and then I was back in Delhi before I came to Jakarta.
So it's been 20 plus years in the service.
I joined in 96, and
96.
so it is 28 years.
28 years.
Yeah.
Maybe not in detail, but just talk about the changes which you have seen. Now, I think we briefly spoke about that in the beginning, but let's get a bit more into it, because I believe, the country has evolved for good since 1996, be it in terms of economy, in defense, the way we position ourselves to the world. How have those changes translated in Indian foreign services, or how the embassies operate?
No, it's a very relevant question, and we need to constantly deal with that question. So you see, when we joined the service, there was nothing much to talk about with a foreign interlocutor. Our economy was not in a very good shape. We didn't have much to sell. Our trade volumes were very low.
Yeah.
We were actually looking for investment. There was hardly any Indian investments abroad.
Correct.
The only calling card we had maybe was culture, music,
Tourism, a
tourism a little bit, Bollywood little bit.
bit. Yeah.
Now you move a few years down, 2000 onwards.
Sorry, but you've seen that transition, right? You've seen that transition. I know I've interrupted a thought process, but how quick that transition happened, and what you're supposed to make a very quick shift, right? Because the transition, of course, happens over a period of like 2 or 3 years maybe, or in some cases more. But to you, the directives change maybe, let's say, in a week or in a month.
Yeah, no, so exactly. So you see, what is our job as a diplomat? Our job is to market your country,
Absolutely.
project India in a good way, make the country appeal to foreigners, and also make the country that where you are working also appeal to people back home in India. It's a two-way process.
Sure.
If one leg is weak, it doesn't work. 2000s again, India transformed, and the biggest boon that I would say we got was the IT revolution. Indians started getting recognized as IT guys, wizards.
Like early 2000s.
Early 2000s,
Y2K,
the Y2K and all that.
Yeah.
Then even Indian migration to the West, anybody who had anything to do with IT,
IT was
then
moving, yeah.
would look at India. These majors came up, TCS and Wipro and HCL and all those companies. So we had some things to talk about. You know, we projected ourselves as not only a cultural destination and food and Bollywood, but also to do with IT. And another, so the decades of 2000s went with that, and also we had a good growth rate.
Yeah.
But that started petering out towards the end of the first decade of the 20th
This was the global
century,
recession as
global
well, right?
recession also.
The story had changed.
Story had changed. Then I think another huge impetus came with the new government, the 2014.
2014. Okay.
There the difference was that we were also made conscious of our own glory, of what India is to the world, our past, our civilization. International Yoga Day. Yoga is known to everybody. In fact, people in the West, I was in the US, people used to think yoga.
They've hijacked the word
It was an American thing,
yeah.
Yoga Day. And last year, Prime Minister pushed this Millets Day.
Yes.
These are traditional Indian knowledge which our own people used to be very, circumspect about ki kya hai. I think, India's rise in the global stage, also our economy doing well, realizing that, you cannot be a global economic power without manufacturing, investment flows into India. Also the increasing presence of our diaspora. The people who went in the 70s and all were now maturing.
Yes.
Okay. And then the young, IT guys and business guys, our Indians occupying political positions in the West, Indians becoming CEOs in the West, Indians, doctors, engineers, professionals.
It seems
so
like
not to
everything has come together at the right time. And I mean, I've been an expat myself. I've been away for more than 12 years now. There's a certain sense of pride as well. And I believe it's been instilled over a period of time in the last few years. I mean, I'm not going to talk about my politics as such, but I would on the record want to say, I believe Prime Minister Modi is one of the biggest influencers in India. When I say influencer, I'm talking about be it a celebrity or whoever, which was never the case, right? I mean, it was never the case. He comes on Instagram or he comes on Twitter, he talks about, say, millets, or he talks about Lakshadweep, and boom.
I'll give you a case study. So when I was ambassador to Peru. So Peru, as you know, has the world famous place called Machu Picchu.
Yes.
So one of the directives we got from government was try to do Yoga Day in an iconic place.
Okay.
So what could be more iconic than Machu Picchu? So when I went there, I thought first year, let me understand this country. The second year in 2017, I said, abhi karna hai isko. So Machu Picchu is not an easy place to reach. It's remote. It's expensive. So I said, I will take 100 people to Machu Picchu and do Yoga Day. Now 100 people, taking them to Machu Picchu from Lima, you have to flight tickets, this train tickets, then bus ride, then entry into Machu Picchu was almost $100 per person.
Yeah.
So I said how to, but the most difficult thing was permission to do Yoga Day. Now what happened was, we had earlier got permission for a cinema, for a film.
Okay.
Shooting in Bollywood, in Machu Picchu. Unfortunately, in that film, rather than talking about Machu Picchu, the film was shot in Machu Picchu, but the sequence which was being sung, it was a song sequence. The lyrics were Kilimanjaro, Kilimanjaro. So the tourism people were aghast.
Of course they will be.
So I will not name the film and the actors and the actors.
I'll Google it off.
You'll Google it. I'll send you the link. So if I was myself, I was shocked that they are shooting in the backdrop is all Machu Picchu, but the song was Kilimanjaro. So they said no Indian film. We will not allow the Indian embassy and all that. So but I would not leave. I said to karna hai. So finally, I reached the right people who were to decide. So he asked me, okay, I will give you permission, but tell me how much publicity Machu Picchu and Peru will get, because they were from Peru Peru promotion.
And this time they want clarity.
And this is clarity, and what is the deal? So how can I say anything?
So the lyrics writer.
I said I agree with you, and I want to say that it'll be all media will carry, this is such an iconic play, Yoga Days big. But he said, no, give me some data. So suddenly, like you said, I had a brainwave. So I opened the Twitter account of Prime Minister Modi. At that time, this is about 10 years back or 9 years back. He had about 37 or 40 million followers. Yeah. Now I think he has 90 million or something.
Yeah, Twitter is,
anyway.
Yeah.
So I opened Twitter, I said 40 million. So I said, the population of Peru was about 35 million.
Yeah.
So I showed him. I said, look sir, if we do Yoga Day in Machu Picchu, my Prime Minister will retweet my tweet.
Done.
He said, how many followers he has? I said 37 or 39 million. Okay. Usko dekh ke his eyes
it's a
like
massive
popped
number.
out.
And you're talking about 9 years back.
9 years back.
These numbers were unheard of.
Unheard
right?
of.
Yeah.
And he said, it's more than our population. I said, yes. He said, done. But you have to assure me that he retweets. How can I assure? How can I assure? So I fired the gun from that Twitter account. Then, Yoga Day ho gaya. It was lovely. And everybody, the moment I would say, Yoga Day karna hai, all sponsors came. So, we got tickets free, this free, that free. People also contribute. So I was able to do the event. It was a beautiful event. Then, I am getting nervous because Prime Minister is not tweeting, that account is not retweeting. I tried everything, I sent this to everybody. I sent to everybody, and it's not tweeting. Then I have that video with me, I'll show you. So we were having dinner and my brother was visiting. And suddenly, my daughter came running, jumping. Prime Minister has retweeted your tweet. I said, oh my God, my daughter, I can show my,
show my face out there.
Show my face. And he did, and he did. And he mentioned it in Man Ki Baat. And I'm still very happy that, we came out with the commemorative volume in 2017, Yoga Day. There's only one centerpiece. That the centerfold.
This is the one.
This was the yoga in Machu Picchu. So as I am saying, we started getting all these, things to project India, to make India appeal to the world. And now we are in a different trajectory in the sense that, some of the things that has happened in India, digitalization, emphasis on manufacturing, then our democracy, people, 1.4 billion people living in relative harmony with each other, not fighting each other every day. India is a force of peace in the world. India is a voice of reason in the world. Then, poverty alleviation, latest statistics that we have seen from Niti Aayog shows that if you go into rural India, things have really changed.
They have.
Things have really changed.
I can vouch for it because, whenever I visit my village, so I'm brought up in Mumbai, but we are in deep parts of Bihar, right? And it used to be a nightmare to reach out there because of the roads, the overall infrastructure was in shambles. And I visited after 6 years. Last year, I visited after 6 years. I was super pleasantly surprised. The roads are amazing. There's 24/7 electricity, which was like, it's my village, right? Every year we used to go during our vacations, and it used to be a nightmare. There's no electricity, and you're coming from Mumbai. Over here, it used to be a massive nightmare.
Absolutely.
So no, I agree to it.
And some of the states which were not performing so well, for instance, you mentioned Bihar, UP.
Yeah.
UP is transforming amazingly well.
UP is a different story. I think we can do a podcast on UP.
Yeah, UP. I went to, I compiled a book on international relations and diplomacy last year. So one school in UP, Lucknow, invited me to talk to the students on what is international relations. And I went to Lucknow after so many years. I was so positively impacted. It's such a lovely city now.
Sure.
And now with what's happening in Ayodhya, the airport, the temple complex, tourism, UP will be one of the leading states of India, I think.
And it has everything in it, in the place to become one. Be in terms of sheer land, the population, fertility of the place. You've got rivers out there flowing through. Now tourism.
Tourism, yeah.
Now.
Another point I would like to make, I went to, 2 years back, I went to Telangana. So from the highway in Hyderabad, I thought, let me go inside. Okay, let me see what's the transformation. So I went about 10 to 15 kilometers inside. So one thing I saw, which I always tell people, is that I saw a meat shop. Okay. So I was quite surprised to see a meat shop in a village kind of a place.
Okay.
And then I kept on going inside. In fact, from the main road, I went to a forest. I was keen to see a forest. I saw every kilometer or so there was a meat shop.
Okay.
A meat shop in a village shows prosperity in a very different way.
Very different way. Different way. The
affordability, people have the money, they have disposable income.
Correct.
In India, people eat meat only when they have a certain. I remember when my father was working.
It's an occasion, right?
It's only an occasion. On a Sunday, we would get meat.
Yeah.
And they were meat shop. And they were open. People were buying. And to my surprise, when I went further in, I found women were butchers. Women were running meat shops. That tells a different story altogether.
True.
Some of these inhibitions and stereotypes are breaking in India.
Sure.
And I always tell people that story that I saw this and I thought things have changed in India.
We're still work in progress for sure, but the change has been immense, of course. Okay, we are running out of time, but I want to touch upon three topics, right? The last three ones. First one I want to talk about the focus which has come on the ambassadors and diplomats. Because of one person, Dr. Jaishankar. The way he has come out as an external affair minister, and the way he conducts himself, his speeches, his interviews, they've been viral for all good reasons, of course. And there's seen a renewed interest. Look, Indian diaspora outside of India, of course, they would know of the ambassador, they would know of the embassy. But now the people back in India also. Today I was telling my friends that I'm going to meet the ambassador. They were very excited. They're very excited because now they have a persona to connect with, right? So talk about him a bit.
No, so I think we are very lucky, and the country is very lucky that we have him as our foreign minister, external affairs minister. Personally, it helps us a lot because all of us know him. He knows everyone in the ministry.
Yes.
So you don't have to explain anything or
Correct.
Bhumika badne ki zarurat nahi padti hai. He immediately
he's been on the both sides, right?
Yeah,
he's
been one of us, and now he's our minister. So decision making and understanding a problem or an issue is so much easy. Having said that, I would also say that the former foreign minister Susma Swaraj, she also had a great influence on the service, particularly in terms of our connection to the diaspora and helping Indians in distress.
But she was the one who started with the tweets.
Yeah.
Oh, that was amazing.
And everyone was so responsive. Yes. I still remember I was in New York. She would call me in the middle of the night and come on the phone and said, "Sandeep, tum so to nahi rahe the." So I would always say, "Nahi, main jag raha tha." But the kind of awareness that she
was so
built.
prompt. She was so prompt.
And now Dr. Jaishankar has taken Indian diplomacy to an altogether different level. I would strongly recommend the two books that he has written.
Yes.
One is Why India Matters, and another India Way and Why Bharat Matters.
Why Bharat Matters.
The Bharat part is interesting because now we are trying to tell the world that some of the solutions that India has for problems may be actually global solutions. The way we do things, in a very consultative way, taking people along. Our voice of reason and moderation. The best example is how we dealt with the crisis or the war in Ukraine. We had to take our people out. We managed to do that.
Yes.
The way we didn't try to avoid hurting our Indian economy in terms of fuel, food, fertilizers. Yes. The role we played in G20, the Delhi Declaration. So that Indian diplomacy has reached a different dimension and level, and largely, if you read the book, it's the vision and the direction from the Prime Minister, but I think also he has had a role in terms of marshalling the resources and putting people on the job.
Great. A big fan, of course. Next one. The next one is wanted to understand your view on startups. Right. The channel is primarily about startups, right? Startups, investments, venture capitals, and more. What is your view, right? I mean, and actually there are two sub questions to this, right? First is how you feel that the embassies can help Indian startups, right? In venturing, let's say in Indonesia, for example, right? And vice versa. How can you bring Indonesian startups who are willing to expand into India? What kind of systems can we put in place, or what are the plans, or if there are any current activities which are happening which we might not be aware of?
Yeah. So you see, what we are trying to do is I would expand this my ambit to more than startups, because startups are also enterprises or businesses. Yeah. So what I am trying to do is one exercise I have launched where I would need the help of your channel and your organization.
Sure.
Is that I have done a mapping and I found 3 or 4 kinds of Indian presence in terms of businesses here. One are Indian headquartered companies.
Sure.
Okay. Let's say Aditya Birla or
Adani's
or Tata's.
Yeah.
So they are a major economic player in this country.
Yes.
They create jobs. They have invested and they create jobs. Second are Indian diaspora companies. Let's say Indorama or let's say Indo Ispat.
Yeah.
They were started by people who came from India, but they are in all sense of the term Indonesian companies.
Yeah, they've become one.
Yeah. Okay. Or let's say the cinema businesses which are run by the Ram Panjati or his brother or others.
Yeah.
They are also huge economic players, but they have an Indian DNA somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to map them, their contribution. And thirdly, I am also trying to find out Indian professionals in companies. Okay. They may be in multinational companies, they may be in Indonesian companies. They are also an economic player because they have brought something from India, their skills, and they are also contributing to the economic activity in Indonesia. And fourth pillar of people are people who came as professionals, maybe in one of the three. Either they were in a diaspora company, or they worked in a multinational, or they were working in an in Indian company, but have now ventured into startups.
That would be someone like me.
Someone like you. There are many people like that. You ask them, what brought, I come for this company.
I came with a job over here with a multinational, and then we started.
There is a guy in Surabaya, I met him. I came and worked with Jindal, but then now I am into stainless steel business myself. Okay. So these are the four brands. I am trying to connect to everybody. And we have started a newsletter called Warta, which is a Indonesian and an Indian word, where we are trying to tell stories of Indian companies, Indian CEOs. Last issue we featured CEO of the Godrej company, which is actually an Indonesian company. They acquired a company here, but the products are of Indian origin. So I'm trying to start that communication. And you may have noticed we are doing so many events. We did one on economic integration. Then last, I think this Friday we did one
microfinance and
microfinance thing. Then we are planning one on pharma. So we are planning a large number of these events. What we have to also do is what you asked me, is connecting our startups. That process is started. It also takes, because startups are many. Everybody, any professional, I have a startup. So I'm trying to first work on with the financial startups. I'm meeting a few of them. This week I'm going to meet with the Tokopedia guy. He has a presence in India. Most of his back office is being done in India. I'm going to ask him, why don't you do something in India? And so the startup journey for me personally in Indonesia is yet to begin. But I am first trying to map them. I'm trying to understand who is in what business, and connect people. Connect people. There are many. For instance, there is one person called Guru Deshpande. So I met somebody else. Zapco. Then I met somebody else, and he was also in the same kind of business. So I connected the two. They didn't know about each other. They didn't know about each other. So first, I think the job for me in my 6 months has been to establish the connection. But you will see a lot of activity being done by the embassy in terms of involving the startups both from India and in Indonesia. And we are planning a major economic conference in November. We will get delegates from India. It will be the India ASEAN Business Conclave, partner country Indonesia. It will be in the last week of November. That will be culmination of all the activities that we have done this year. So there again, we'll have a huge focus on startups.
Sure. No, this is great. I mean, we can use all the support. It is always needed in the initial journey. Okay, last question, Chief. Bit on the personal side, right? Generally, an ambassador is in a country, in a foreign land for 2.5 years. Am I wrong?
3 years normally. Yeah, normally.
But the transition period begins, right? So you basically uproot yourself every few years along with the family, and then you move to another one. There must be an emotional toll, right? Maybe on you or the family. How your partner copes with this, Taruna ma'am? How does she copes with it? Because it's like you're establishing connections. You're establishing networks, you're creating a circle, and knowing the fact that you're going to move, right? Knowing the fact that you're going to move, and then you eventually move, and then you have to restart, do this again. Talk a bit about that.
It's a difficult question to answer, and we are grappling with it on a daily basis. But when I say we, I not only mean Indian diplomats, but also it's a global problem. All diplomats, that's why diplomats connect very easily and nicely to each other.
Everyone has the same
Everyone has the same kind of an issue. It is hard for the diplomat. It is very hard on the
spouses,
and also on the children. Because particularly if you have school-going children, every 2-3 years you have to establish new friendships.
Correct.
In a way, they become strong and resilient.
Gradually, yes.
Yeah.
But during that time, it
is not easy, and they need a lot of support of the parents. Spouses find it difficult to have a career. In fact, only now that our children have grown up, my wife has been able to start a career. Maybe it's good because by the time I retire, she will be very established. So maybe it's for the good. But you know, the associated problem is that diplomats find it difficult to find spouses. Because women are now educated, professional, they want their careers.
Sure.
And similarly, you know, for a woman diplomat to find a husband is not easy because, moving with the husband and, marriages are difficult to sustain over distances.
Sure.
So there is an issue. But I don't see any easy answer to it. Maybe technology is an answer in the sense that people are now able to work remotely. So I have found many spouses who live with their diplomat husband or wife, but they are able to have a profession because they can work remotely.
Sure.
Also, for instance, my wife is a visiting faculty in IIM Indore, so she keeps on coming and going. But she is able to do it because we are in Indonesia. Imagine if we were in Latin America, then it would not have been possible. So it's a difficult question to answer, and my children have. It's not that they have not suffered. When they were
and you've got twin daughters.
I've got twin. So they had each other. But not everybody can have twins also. That's also a challenge.
Correct.
So I remember when my daughters went from Peru to New York, they found it difficult to make friends.
How old were they?
They were in grade 10, 11, 12.
Oh, that's a tricky
one. So because the friendships were all made.
That's a very tricky one.
And the groups and circles were all there, and my daughters were not able to penetrate. But they did a smart thing. They made the circle of all other expats. So their friends were Korean, Chinese, Bangladeshi.
Same pain.
Same pain. So people with the same pain got together, and then they were happy. But it needed a lot of effort. They were not able to penetrate into the established people who were in that school from childhood. They were not very welcoming of intruders or newcomers.
No, which is very gentle.
No, but it is a challenge, and I have seen a lot of colleagues. Mostly women, because still the number of men diplomats is more than women. The women have suffered in the sense they have not been able to have a career, and many of them are very, very skilled and trained and talented.
I'm sure,
And even men husbands find it difficult to adjust because not all professions can be done.
It is a
remotely.
difficult profession. It is definitely a difficult profession. I mean, even with limited time which I have been around, and I've seen you guys, both you and Taruna ma'am. I mean, she has to be there almost everywhere, right? Wherever you're visiting for any cultural event. And again, it takes a lot out of you. For you, of course, it comes with the job, right? But for her, it's an added one, right? So, I mean, you either gradually start relishing it, enjoying it.
But I think that would also be true for any job which is associated with movement. If you are in the corporate, also if you are an international, in international business, or then you have that.
But out there, I mean, you have an option of just settling down.
Over
here, I mean, you've signed up for it.
That is true. So it's an issue. It's a challenge, but I think end of the day, you become stronger.
I'm sure.
You become more resilient. You are used to working in any environment, multicultural environment.
Sure.
I see it in my daughter. In fact, when they applied for college, they highlighted this aspect in their essays, that they are, very convenient and comfortable in working in international environments. They speak so many languages, and so that helps them, and they will come out stronger. And I think we have also now learned, we adjust, and our role as senior people is to advise the young officers how to deal with such issues, and we always try to support each other. And the other factor is that we have the embassy family in every. I always say the Indian Foreign Service or the Ministry is the largest multinational company in India, because we may have 180 offices world over.
Yes.
So wherever we go, we have the backup and support of our embassies, which is great.
Sure. Okay, parting thoughts, last thoughts on where do you see in your tenure India-Indonesia relationship going?
No, it's a very important question, and I have been thinking about it and working on it. I will fail in my job if I am not able to enhance that relationship.
Yes.
And it can happen in many dimensions. I think politically we are very comfortable with each other. We are similar kinds of countries. We have similar outlooks and foreign policies, strategic autonomy, which we use in India, and free and active, which they use here. We have a vision of the world. So there is a lot of understanding at the top level and our policies. What I want to do is increase the economic engagement with Indonesia.
Sure.
And my message to our companies has always been that try to set up shop here. Because Indonesia has a policy of encouraging people to set up shop here, not only trade.
Yeah.
And I tell them this is a huge country.
True.
And this is a huge market. Per capita income is high.
Yes.
They have a vision to become a developed country by 2045. EMAS Indonesia. Per capita incomes will go up to 25. So it's a huge economy.
True.
So it makes sense to come and set up shop here, make things here, have a partner, do business as an Indonesian company. You will enjoy so many advantages.
True.
And it is born, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So the companies of Indian origin who are here, Indian headquarters, they are doing so well.
Yes.
I'm telling those stories. In the last business meeting, you were there. We told the TVS story. What an inspiring story.
Yeah,
so there are many.
Absolutely.
So I am telling people, become a TVS. We have pushed Enfield to set up shop here. They will come. Enfield we displayed during the Republic Day also. So I'm giving that even small businesses. I'm telling them set up shop here, have a partner, because it's not easy to understand the dynamics here. Indonesia is also a very sophisticated country.
Correct.
So one has to understand what works, what doesn't work. So that is the main message I am giving, even to startups. This is a huge undeveloped startup ecosystem. It can really go far. People are smart, people are educated, people are tech savvy. Internet penetration is high, mobile penetration is high, social media penetration is high.
Yes.
So you can really do wonders in this economy.
Just to top it up, the people are nice.
People are so nice.
Very smiling, very nice. Very
welcoming. They are welcoming.
Very
India has a good reputation here. Our goodwill is very high. So we need to encash on it. And at the end of the day, diplomacy is all about both sides winning.
True.
If we can give a value proposition to Indonesia and Indonesians, I'm sure they are happy to accept it. And so my role and job at the moment is concentrating on increasing the economic engagement. Immediate task is celebrating with lot of fervor the 75th anniversary. We have been doing a lot of events.
Yes.
I mentioned the business event we'll do in November. We are planning a Pasar Bharat, an event in December.
Nice.
It will be a huge mela, music, dance, food, culture, everything.
Awesome.
I am also talking to the Indonesian side to host the Indian national football team here. We'll have football matches because Indonesia is crazy about football. And India also needs to up its game here in football. We have been doing well. We moved 5 places in the FIFA rankings. So to anyone I spoke, including the sports minister, he said, let's do it. So my immediate thing is to do that. So we have planned up several events, and I want to do it with the participation of our community, our friends of India in Indonesia. And I want to increase the profile of India and Indonesia, and Indonesia and India. I think both are very, very important. And I have a very strong partner in Indonesia's ambassador in Delhi, Ibu Ina Krishnamurthy, and we communicate quite almost on a daily basis, sharing notes and pushing the relationship. I believe that there is a lot of space and scope for a country like India and Indonesia, and even Indonesia needs to increase its presence in India. We are so close. We are neighbors. We are 150 kilometers apart.
A lot of cultural overlaps as well.
Cultural overlaps and huge markets.
Yes.
So and the trade volume is high. We are the largest trading partner in ASEAN. So on the whole, the indicators, the fundamentals of the relationship are strong. It now depends on many actors and players on how they want to take it forward.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for doing this, Chief. Really appreciate you taking time.
Thank you. Lovely to be on your channel.
Have a good day.